let me, there we go. All right.
Oh, there we go.
People will miss Idaho and Oregon, but that's okay. Or I got the schedule out from the.
Right.
From the
Anyway,
report.
so Osoyoos Lake up on the Canadian border. That should be a really fun lake. I've not fished it. I know the Duggars have gone up and fished it, but it's gonna be fun. So that should be a great time there. Tour event number 3 is going to be on Lake Stevens over on the west side. This is the only one lake that I'm considering putting the what do we call that? Now that I'm brain farting here. The
weigh-in?
The pre-fish thing, the pre-fish.
You're thinking about doing the off limits
here.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got Banks Lake on 8/27, which is our 4th event. Banks Lake is another really fun lake. It's a big lake. Too bad, Josh. Banks Lake's another really fun lake. And then our 5th event is Alder Lake. Again, on the west side down towards, it's more towards Vancouver area down there. So I've not fished Alder Lake. I know some of the guys have, and it's even though it's an off color lake, it's supposed to have a lot of good bass in it. So all of our lakes should be really good. We got top picks this year because we got our stuff in early enough to get it taken care of instead of last year when we were scraping the bottom of the barrel there. So that's pretty much Washington's schedule.
That's great. That's weird. Somebody was there and then let me let them in now. Here we go. A couple more late.
I know Alder Lake dropped.
Say again?
You're breaking up, Chris.
Alder Lake drops your water level too, so it won't be as deep. Because I know around June, July time, it's up to 200 feet deep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, this will be late in the year, so it'll probably be a little shallower than that.
September.
If if there's any of these that you guys are going to fish earlier in the year, Jim and I were talking about Alder Lake a little bit earlier. We haven't done an event there, and we're not really sure what the cell service situation is going to be. So if any of you are fishing any of the lakes in any of our divisions, and you want to do a little cell service testing while you're there, and let us know, that would be greatly appreciated. And let us know what carrier you're using and whether you had service on the water, whether you had service at the launch, and then if you want to go above and beyond, where's the closest place that you can find service. That will take you a little bit of time to figure out, but yeah, any of that help is always greatly appreciated. All right, let's take that off. And now let's talk about some of these other events. Before we dive into the ones that are on the schedule, there's one that is not on the schedule. And a handful of people know about it because I asked some of you if it's something you were interested in, you thought sounded good, and the feedback was pretty positive. So I can't say who it is yet or exactly what it is, but there's a pretty big event that's going to happen on 5/15. So the day after our Lake Wallula event, and it's close to the Lake Wallula event. It's only about an hour away, hour and a half away. So put that on your calendars. If you're thinking about putting some time off of work, maybe add an extra day. For the Washington and the Oregon folks, the Western Washington people, it's going to be pretty much on your way home anyway. So you could get up Sunday or drive Saturday and then fish another day Sunday, and you can still get home that afternoon or evening after the event. For the Idaho folks, it's a little out of your way. It's a couple hours. It's probably an hour further than you coming home. So you'll have to consider if it's something you want to do. But I think we'll be able to promote that and tell you all the information pretty soon. The people who we're not running it. It's not our event, but they're working with us and they have worked with us to try to make sure that we're not conflicting with each other. And we encourage our anglers to fish it and vice versa. So it's a good relationship. But that will be pretty cool on 5/15. It'll be a kind of a big thing. So some of the other open sort of things we've got going on, we've got this NRS Inland Northwest Open. You guys don't know much about that yet. I've leaked just a little bit about it. Right now we're working with NRS to try and get the insurance taken care of, make sure that's in place. So we don't have real hard details on it yet, but it's going to be all of Dworshak. You'll be able to fish. There's about 5 launches around the main part of the lake, and you'll be able to launch at any of those. And I don't think we're going to put a boundary on it. I think you'll be able to go up as far as you want, as long as you launch down there at one of those launches. We'll have designated launches for it. Should be great. That's where the state record smallmouth was caught, in the main part of the lake there. Here goes Jeremy again. You're not going to let me go, are you? What do you need?
So on that one, for Dworshak, there's I think 3 public launches. There's a couple of others that are accessible by ATV trails. Is that legal?
Probably not. I don't have details on that yet, but I'll reach out to you when we're getting close to it. And if you've got feedback on the launches we're considering, we'll be happy to take your advice on it.
Yeah, because I mean, there's the 3 separate launches: Granddad, Elk Creek, and then the main launch down at the down by whatever that town's called, or
Spaghetti or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a handful of other ones that are accessible by ATV trail, but they're 5 or 6 mile rides in. So that's why I didn't know if that's a legal thing, because it's technically still a legal launch on public land.
We'll consider it, but probably not. If it's where you won't be able to get there without a serious 4-wheel drive, we probably will not allow it, because that cuts too many people out. It's just not fair. So one thing we're looking at with the NRS event is we're hoping to get some celebrities to come and fish that event. NRS, I don't know if you've looked at who's on their pro team, but they've got a killer pro team. They're very choosy about who they put on their pro team. And David at NRS wants to try and bring some of those in to fish this event. So it might be a cool chance for you to meet and fish with some people that you've watched online. I can't name names yet because it's not set. We don't have it, but we're going to try and make that happen. Greg, you've got a question about NRS?
Actually, I have a question about the May 15th, the combined event. So all 3 states are going to fish that one event, which means it's going to be a pretty large event by our standards. And we're promoting to fish the next day to this unnamed, and I'm assuming they're reciprocal and promoting our event. So what kind of, what do the numbers look like for those 2 days?
I can't tell you. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping for our event at Lake Wallula, I'm hoping we hit around 100 people. That's kind of my goal that I have in my head, is we need to have about 100 people. I don't know how many will show up for their event the next day. I'm hoping a lot of our people will consider going and fishing that the next day. I'm probably going to do it. I think Jim and Chris are probably going to do it. So I don't know. I really can't tell you.
There's so much that you can't say. Wait till it's brought out. Trust me, it's a good thing. It's a very good thing, especially for the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, when I say big for that one, I didn't necessarily mean big in terms of numbers. I mean, it's going to be a very visible event. Mm-hmm. It's gonna grab some attention.
I think as far as our event goes, I think Marvin's being conservative. I think we'll hit 100 pretty easy. I think the 125 is going to be kind of the magic
125, because everybody should show it's,
I mean, there's some people who aren't going to make the trip. It's going to be too far for them, probably. There's some people who don't consider themselves river anglers, really, who may not come and fish that one. But if you are gunning for AOI, it's pretty important that you fish that first event. I mean, you only get one gimme, and if you don't fish that event, that is your gimme. That means you've got to fish the other 4 events to have even a chance.
I'll say one
touch on that right now.
Let me just real quick, the weather for those people that are concerned about the wind on the Columbia up here.
Oh,
The
thanks,
way
Jim.
the
Yeah.
river lays in this section, the wind to make whitecaps would for the section of the river that goes basically northwest, it's got to blow like 60 to get a whitecap. Now that's still no fun in a kayak, but you can fish all of this from about where it says Two Rivers on that map, straight across the river. That's about where your bigger waves would start. And everything to the north of that is completely fishable in a high wind. I've done it a gob of times. So it's not like the bottom part where the river that runs west to east and that southwest wind kicks up those giant waves. We just don't get that up there. What you do get is not able to control your kayak, and it's a pain. But you don't have to worry about those big waves just because it's the river. And the current on the Columbia up here flows that time of year. It's probably going to flow around 1.5. So it's not raging fast either. So
That's great.
right. Sorry.
No, that's perfect. I'm glad you brought that up because we did need to talk about that.
Marvin, do you want to go over how the points are going to be broken down for that event per state?
What is going to be broken down?
AOY
Oh,
points.
AOI. I think I already did mention that, but yeah, we can do it again. So we'll split it up. We're going to split it up by division. So I'll take all the Idaho anglers and I'll rank your AOIs by Idaho anglers, by the people who are fishing, who plan to fish, 4 or more Idaho events. And we'll do the same thing with Oregon, and we'll do the same thing with Washington. That's the only way I can really do AOI for an event like that and keep it fair. Otherwise, people can really bump you down. People from another division could really bump you down in AOI. If one of the states does poorly, then everybody who fishes it's going to have bad AOI for that. So that won't happen the way we're doing it. It'll really be as if those other people didn't fish. For AOI only. For the money, that we'll do by however people place, no matter where you're from. So yeah, but the money should be good for that one. I hope so. If we have a lot of people and we can get our booster money set where we need it, we'll be in great shape. So the next one to talk about is the Native Watercraft No Limit Big Bass Power Hour Open. That is a mouthful of an event. The first one of those, we've got 5 of those that are happening in the US in 2022. The first one is down at Lake Berryessa in California. So you might want to go down and fish that one too, if you're interested in doing a little travel. Berryessa is a great lake. Marvin Goda, my native pro staff buddy, the 2 Marvins, he's running the one down there at Lake Berryessa. April 2nd is the date for that. So the cool thing about that one is we're going to give away, assuming we get the numbers that we need. We really need 100, 125 for that. 125 is sort of the goal. But at 100 anglers, we're going to pay $1,000 an hour for the big bass every hour. If you're intimidated by going and fishing tournaments sometimes with a large group of people like that, thinking you don't have much of a shot, anybody can win the big fish in a given hour. Anybody. I mean, I don't care how experienced you are or how much you've pre-fished that spot. Anybody can pull one big fish. So that's pretty cool. And then it'll have a big payout for the traditional no limit winners. It's a no limit tournament. It's going to be up at Potholes Reservoir in Washington. And the numbers on the minimum numbers on the events in the other states are all set at 14 inches. And that's something we're going to have to look at and make sure that's going to be okay at Potholes, a 14-inch minimum. With a no limit, we don't want to do 8-inch fish no limit with that many anglers. It would just be insane. So that's why there's such a large minimum size for fish on that one. We're giving away, again, as long as the numbers are there, we're supposed to be giving away 3 kayaks as well. 3 Propel kayaks. So not, I think it's 3. It's at least 2 Propel kayaks. One of them might be a Falcon, but I don't think so. I think they're all 3 Propels. But that's the plan. We're still, I'm working with my native buddies to try and get all the details nailed down on this, and we'll be releasing more information about that event soon. The West Coast Championship, of course, is the other one. We didn't talk about that on the schedule, but you can see here, I need to put little logos on here to make it more obvious. I'll do that. But you can see that tour event number 1 has an asterisk. That is a WCC qualifier. And then the second and third tour event in each state is also a qualifier. So if you fish Lake Wallula, then all you have to do is fish the next 2 tour events in your state, and you automatically have qualified, no matter where you place, as long as you complete all 3 events. You can't just sign up. You have to actually fish it and fish to the end and not get disqualified or anything. And as long as all that happens, then you're automatically in. But also, if you place in the top 25% in any of those WCC qualifiers, then you're in. And you know, there's some people I've talked to who want to make it that way. They don't want to make it by participation. They want to make it by qualifying, and that's great, you know, if you want to do that. But it's kind of fun being able to get it by participation too and go down to Fish Clear Lake. It was a fantastic event last year. 104 anglers. Top angler won over 10 grand with all the side pots, and he won big bass both days. It was insane. The fish were big and mean. It's just a lot of fun to fish down there. What am I leaving out about the West Coast Championship? We've got another club came on board too. Colorado's in it. I'm not sure how many people are going to make the drive from Colorado, but they're in there. So we're expecting even bigger numbers this year. And you know, that event couples with like, I don't know, it was like 4 events last year, I think, that were that same weekend. And it's probably going to be the same thing this time. There's multiple events. Yak Bass and KBF all have events that all coincide at the same time. So you can go down and triple, quadruple dip and register for all these different events and submit your fish to all of those at once and do pretty well. And then the Classic. The Classic is going to be just down the road from our first event at Lake Wallula. It'd be at Lake Umatilla. So that's the John Day pool is also referred to. So from like LePage Park up to the same dam. It's just across the dam from where we're fishing at Lake Wallula. We did an event, an OKBF event at LePage Park down at the bottom end of Lake Umatilla year before last. And it was a good event. There were some nice fish, some big largemouth in addition to smallmouth, especially when you get into the John Day arm there. I think that's it on live event schedule. Online, you know, this has been up for a while, so you guys can see this. This is really basically the same thing we did last year. We've got our 50-50 season longs. So for the new people who haven't done that, the 50-50 season long has got a 10 fish limit, but you've got to catch 5 largemouth and 5 smallmouth. And they all count towards your total. So if you don't catch smallmouth, you don't have a chance of winning. And if you catch a bunch of really small smallmouth, you don't really have a chance of winning. You got to fish both species, and you got to fish both pretty well to have a shot at the season long. The other cool thing about the season long, though, besides winning it and getting the money, that a lot of the Oregon anglers, at least that I talk to, they like about it is it's just a great way to keep track of all your best catches for the year. They're all in one place. Boom. These are all my fish, the biggest fish that I caught of the year. And that's kind of fun. And it's also some extra incentive to get out and fish, which of course we all need lots of incentive to get out and fish. Like it's just that extra little bit like, oh, well, I should go and see if I can boost my season long numbers. Or any of the online challenges really work in that way. It's just a little incentive to get you out fishing. So there's a KFNW, that's an open, the 50/50 season long for that. It's a $75 entry. That's sort of a cash cow is what that one is for. If you're really a great angler and you put up some big numbers, that's a way to make some money because it's $75 and we don't take anything out of that one except for the fees. There's no angler of the year or anything like that that comes out of that because it's an open. And you don't have to be a member of KFNW to sign up and fish that one. You don't have to pay the $50 membership. Anybody can sign up and fish that one. So there's that one. And then there's one for each division. And those ones are AOI. They are part of the AOI program. We do take some extra funds out of that for AOI and for the Classic. But it's the same exact rules and you can fish the same fish. Afternoon Delight, Chris and I talked about this the other day. We are going to make one change in Afternoon Delight. I kind of goofed there and put Idaho as the first one in March, and Idaho is sort of the last to thaw out. So we're going to move that down. We'll make it the last or second to last of the month, just hoping the weather's good. We don't know. Jim and I were talking about this earlier. 2 years ago, March was great. We didn't fish March. We didn't start anything until April, and March was fantastic. People were catching all kinds of fish. The weather was good. And then last year, of course, March was tough. It was cold, and the Eastern Washington and Idaho folks were still frozen over. So it was tough fishing. But, I think Afternoon Delight was the best option for March, if we're going to do March, because it's in the afternoon at least, and it's only one day. You got to try and pick one day that the weather's going to be okay and you can get out and fish. But it is what it is, you make the best of it. Then April is Pond Hopper. So 200 acres or less for that one. And then it starts to mix up by division. And you can see what all these are. The other one I want to mention on here too is the charity Fish-A-Thon. We raised a ton of money last year for Heroes on the Water at the charity Fish-A-Thon. And I really want to encourage as many of you as I can to come and fish that event. We raised over $3,000 last year. And that was the most we've ever raised for them. We've raised, over $1,000, close to $2,000 for them, but never $3,000. And my goal this year is if we can get that up to 5, 6, if we can double that. And all it takes is more of you signing up to do it. It's a one-day event. It's a pick your day. So same thing, pick your day, meaning you get to choose one day among 5 that you're going to fish, and everybody's scores from those 5 days are grouped together as if they all fished the same day. It's perfect for those people that work on the weekend and can't make it to a tour event on a Saturday. Well, you can do a pick your day. Or if you can't go fishing, 8 times in a month, do the pick your day. I kind of dispelled that though. I mean, I was kind of shocked myself when I looked at the numbers of the pick your days. And of all the onlines, really, even the month longs, people are not fishing as much as you might think they are sometimes. Some are. There's some people who are out there almost every day, but not that many. So River Rat, that's only in Oregon. We do rivers and creeks. No Limit, that's got a 12-inch minimum instead of our normal 8-inch minimum. But as many as you can catch, again, on a single day. Lake Lunkers for Idaho and Washington. So you can't fish rivers, you can only fish lakes. What else we got? Double Trouble. So that one's super popular in Oregon, and it's starting to catch on in Washington, and I hope in Idaho too we'll get our numbers up in that one. Our numbers were not great last year. Pair up with a buddy and or somebody that you just know has been catching a lot of fish, and say, hey, you want to pair up and fish? You don't have to fish together at all. You don't have to fish the same days. You don't have to fish at all together, but your numbers get combined. The AOI, we treat you separately as individual anglers, but for the money, you're combined as a team, and the team wins. Bucket mouth, of course, is just largemouth. And then we'll do our fall open again. So the fall open, the idea with that is anybody who didn't make the Classic, you can still fish the same time the Classic is. You can go head to head, compete against people that are in the Classic. I think that's it on schedule. Let me take this There, you guys are still here. That's great. I thought maybe you were gone. 51 people. Wow.
We lost one if there's only 51. We had-
Some have popped in and out. They might have service issues or something. Does anybody have any questions about the schedule?
Oh, making it easy on us.
I got one question, Marvin.
Sure.
For event number 1, do you have to make the captain's meeting?
Do you have to make what?
The captain's meeting.
What I said on the tournament detail page is it is strongly encouraged. I don't know that we're going to make it required, but we're considering it. It'll be pretty important, especially with that event, especially with that many anglers, especially on the river. It's just all these things. We really would prefer everybody show up for that. If somebody has extenuating circumstances, if they have to work, they can't get out of work, something like that, I would say we'll probably update that and say, reach out to us and tell us, hey, I can't make it, and this is why. If you've got a good reason, we'll be fine with that, I think. But we really do want to try to get everybody there to captain's meeting for a few reasons. One, for all those things I said, for the safety and going over the rules and everything. But also to say thanks to Three Rivers, to have a bunch of people show up there, and hopefully a lot of them spending a little bit of money at Three Rivers while they're there. We'll be able to get some cool pictures at the captain's meeting with, the largest group of anglers we've ever had in one KFNW event, which would be cool. So sorry, long answer to that.
No.
Simple question.
I'm just gonna have to take off work that day.
Heck
No.
yeah.
That's great. Or a half day would do it.
Half
We
day for you.
we figure most people are going to be there anyway because there is an off limits for that. So most people are probably going to pre-fish that Friday in the morning until 11 a.m. But of course, some people can't. Some people are they can't get out of work or whatever it may be. Their wife's birthday or something like that. You'd be dead. But yeah, we'll work that out with you.
All right.
We'll get into that in a minute here, William, as far as the off limits when we get into rules. Let's see. Okay, let's talk a little bit about, before I move on, make sure no other questions about schedule. Nothing. Okay. Before I move on, though, I see Matt Walker there, the Tiger. He's probably not in the same position on your screen. I just want to do a little shout out to Matt. Matt is starting work at Next Adventure, our great sponsor. He's going to be working in the Paddle Sports Center. Yep, embarrassing you, Matt. Sorry. So congrats to you. You can hit applause on your Zoom or give a thumbs up or something, but that's going to be great having Matt there. Okay. All right, let's move on. Payouts and sponsorship. So we're working on sponsorship right now, a lot. That is a big chunk of our time and energy right now, is trying to make sure our sponsorship is in order. We're still working on the details with some of them. I have nailed down a bunch of our sponsors that we've used in the past. Jim and Chris have both nailed down sponsors. Not many have said they're not coming back to us, very few. But there's still a number of them that we've got to talk to and reach out to. And there's some new ones that we've talked to and nailed down. But we're hoping the goal this year, as far as cash sponsorship, is I'm really trying to get $1,000 guarantee for every event. That is what I've been working. Man, more and more people showing up late. We're really trying to get it to $1,000 guarantee for every event. But we'll see. That hasn't happened yet, but we are knocking on the door of it. So fingers crossed, we'll be able to announce that soon.
Hey, one thing, Marvin.
Yeah.
You guys all out there, we're all together, all 3 states together. If, keep your ears peeled for possible sponsorships for us. If you hear somebody, or you think of somebody, or you think somebody would be interested, reach out to Chris, reach out to Marvin, reach out to me from Washington, and we'll take it and run with it. But it's kind of a teamwork makes the dream work thing. And the more input you guys give us, the better it is for you. So this is only something that's just going to help all of us. So if you know or hear of anything or think you do, just come up with or have an idea, just let us know, because we'll definitely try to chase it down.
That's right. I mean, the ideas are great, and I do get a fair number of those of people saying, hey, wouldn't this be a great sponsor? And sometimes it's great, and sometimes we can't do it because it conflicts with another sponsor or something like that happens sometimes. But even better is if you can get a name, especially if it's somebody that you know of this company. If you can get a name for us, a contact for us to reach out, or even a handshake, a warm call instead of a cold call is always 100 times better. I do a fairly high number of cold calls every year anyway. And Chris has been doing cold calls this year as well. And most of those don't pan out. I've told Chris when he's doing, I'm like, hey, it's just the nature of the business. You hit up like 20 people and maybe one of them is going to say, hey, yeah, okay, I'll help you guys out. So we're going to continue to do that and try and find new sponsors that way. But, we can't count on it.
It's tough for all of us to do the cold call thing. So just
It's
remember,
tou-
when
it
you're
is.
sitting there going, man, I can't do that. I just can't do that. It's the same feeling we get too, but we try to do it. So
Jim in particular gets that tense
Arguing.
agita. He tells me I'm going to talk to this sponsor. I'm really nervous.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is. If you're not a salesperson, if that's not your job, and that's a different kind of person, right? Like the person who does sales has a different attitude. So while we're talking about sponsors, the more we support them, the more that they come back to us. When sponsors don't come back to us, it is usually because we have not demonstrated our value to them. Sometimes it's because, things change in their business or they weren't really tracking what happens. That's why I try to track it and tell them. One thing you guys don't see that I do when I'm contacting sponsors for repeat business is all these photos we take of you guys with the gear. I create a page for each of those sponsors. It's got all your photos holding their gear, smiling, and I send them that link so they get to look at that page and see everybody that won their gear. And it really makes a difference. When you buy like a kayak from Next Adventure, for example, that really helps cement my sales pitch the next year. So I did a poll recently, and there were a handful of folks here who did buy kayaks from Next Adventure, and I told that up, and I went back to them and I said, hey, look, we sold this many kayaks for you guys, and this many just from winners. Like there were people that won our events and went and bought kayaks. And then there were people that also just maybe they didn't win an event or didn't get first place at an event, but they still spent money with a sponsor. So anytime you spend money with a sponsor, I'm beating a dead horse here. You guys have heard it a million times, but I'm going to continue to beat it. Post about it. Do something on social media about it. I'll tag it or you tag it with that Kfnw sponsor love hashtag. And again, at the end of the year, that helps me a lot in putting together our sponsorship guide to drop a lot of those social media posts in and really make an impression. While we're talking about payouts, let's talk about the new W-9 policy. For the 27 anglers or so that had to get a 1099 this past year. So we're doing a new policy because I had some trouble tracking down all that information from everybody here. So very similar to the way a lot of other tournament series do this. You're not going to get paid until you give me a W-9 once you've reached that $600 threshold. If you make $200, sure, no problem. I'm just going to pay you. But as soon as you hit that $600 threshold, I'm going to reach out to you and say, hey, you're over $600. You got to give me a W-9 now before you get your prize money. And I'm not going to send you your prize money until I get that W-9. It's critical because I have tax deadlines that I got to meet to send those 1099s out. And if I don't have the W-9s, I can't do it. So thank you for all of you that did get them into me. I did get all but one on time. So I appreciate the effort from everybody who did win, and congratulations for winning enough money that you had to get a 1099. All right, let's jump over to Tourney X now. Let's talk a little bit about Tourney X. One thing is, you know, we're always looking to know how many people are coming to an event. And one thing that I don't think a lot of you know is you can sign up for an event in Tourney X and not pay yet. So if you're thinking about going to an event, but it's, you know, 6 months down the road from now, if it's a September event, let's say, go ahead and sign up for it. And if you don't have the money or don't want to put the money into Tourney X for that long, or into, it's not going to Tourney X, it's going into the PayPal account that we pay people out of. Go ahead and sign up, but just don't pay yet. And that shows up in the back end. I can see all those people who've signed up. So I can do a count and say, okay, we're expecting this many. I know some of those aren't going to ever pay and aren't going to show up. That happens. But we delete all those right before an event if there's anybody who hasn't paid. And you never see those on the front end in the leaderboard. That's why I say I don't think most of you even know about this. Of course, those of you who've run events are aware of it. But yeah, you won't see it in the leaderboard until they've paid. And then once they've paid, then they appear in the leaderboard and they're fully ready to participate. So we've got a new check-in policy. I thought this one was on, weren't you supposed to talk about this, Jim?
I don't see. Oh, I got rules on the fish.
I might have it in two places. Okay, well, I can talk about it. It's no big deal. So we've got a new check-in policy that we're going to be trying, and Tourney X is working with me to put this feature into the software. It's not ready yet. I don't know if it'll be ready in time for our first event, but hopefully, because I think a lot of other people will use it. There's actually two parts to the check-in that are new. One thing that Dwayne is doing right now, Dwayne at Tourney X, is he's putting in a required check-in functionality for the digital check-ins. Most of our events, it's not an option. Digital check-ins really not an option because we don't always have service. But some of our events this year, including Lake Wallula, we do. Somebody else joining us late. We do have good service. So we're going to use the digital check-in feature. And that'll be instead of doing a physical check-in that morning, which is handy, especially somewhere like Lake Wallula, where there are so many launches and covers so much area. That means you don't have to drive to one spot super early in the morning and come see me and Jim and Chris and then drive to your spot. You can just go to your spot and do your check-in there at the launch. What our new policy about it is going to be, and before I jump to that, on the required thing, the way that's going to work is it's going to warn you on your phone. When you open up the app, it's going to send you a push notification on your phone and say, hey, it's time to check in. And then it'll send you a reminder. And if you forget to check in, that's going to pop up on your screen again when you're in there and you try to submit a fish. Down the road, I think he's going to make that possible where really you won't be able to upload a fish until you have checked in. But right now he's not making it required like that. It's just going to send you these push notifications to warn you. Okay, so then with our check-in, what we're going to do differently is we're going to ask you guys if there's a digital check-in to take a photo, to take a selfie at the launch before you launch. And we're going to want to see in that photo, we're going to want to see you, and we're going to want to see your kayak. And hopefully on your kayak, we can see your light and your flag in that photo. And then you're going to, eventually that's going to be in the check-in screen on Tourney X. But in the meantime, if it's not in the check-in screen, we're going to ask you to upload that as a submission. You can just upload it as a 1-inch fish, whatever. And we'll look at it and we can deny it, but it gets saved in the back end so we can still see it. So your first fish will be a denial for every event that you're doing a digital check-in, basically. And that lets us see a few things. The most important thing is it lets us check the GPS of where you are launching. And that's critical on these open launches, especially when there are so many different places to launch, because we want to make sure you're launching in a legal spot. And even more importantly, probably for safety, we want to know where you launched so that if you don't show up at the weigh-in, we know where to send search and rescue and drive ourselves over there to start looking for you. So that's a new thing. This is intended, just as the required light and flag are intended. There are rules that we put in place that are competitive rules. They are rules to make things fair or to help people compete against other anglers. And then there are rules that we put in place that are for safety. And these rules are safety rules. So safety rules, we're not really quick to disqualify people for. We're going to warn you. We're going to harass you. We're going to harangue you. We're going to nag you about it. If you go out after we say you've got to fish with a flag and a light, and we see you without a light, we're going to go and find you and tell you, or we're going to pick up the phone and call you if we saw you and say, hey, you don't have your light on. Put your light on. And you'll put your light on, or you'll put your flag up, or you'll get off the water, because that's what we'll tell you next is if you can't just turn your light on or you don't have your flag on your boat, then get off the water and get it fixed. You're not going to be disqualified at that point. You can get off the water, you can go get a flag, you can get your light. If you forgot it, left it in your car, that's okay. You can do that. If you do that 10 times, 5 times, 3 times, then we may disqualify you. But if you refuse to do it, or if you say, I don't have it, then unfortunately you are going to be disqualified, because we just can't have you out there doing that. Everybody else is responsible in the same way. Everybody else has had to do that and has made it happen. So that's, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And it's going to be the same thing with check-in. We're going to nag you about it. I'm probably going to call you if I see that you haven't checked in yet. I'm going to call you. You know, we did an event last year that we required digital check-in, and I had to call about 3 or 4 people because we're not used to it, but we want to get all of you used to it whenever we can, at least with the digital check-in and the photos, regardless, whether you're doing digital check-in or not, we want you to take a photo at the launch. And if you don't have cell service, that's fine, take the photo. And when you upload your fish later in the day, that's one of the fish you're going to upload is your selfie. Because we still want to make sure you launched at a legal spot. So we need to see that timestamp and that location right around launch time that you're at the place you launched. And if you get off the water and you go launch somewhere else, we want you to do the check-in again there. And preferably that selfie photo again too, just so we know the last place that you launched.
Marvin.
Yeah.
Chase O'Dean's got a question. He wants to know about board checks and in-person check-in the night before every time. That's exactly what it'd be.
We're going to do that at the captain's meeting for Lake Wallula. That's one of the reasons that the captain's meeting is so important that you show up, because we are going to do board checks at that. And yes, we're going to have to work through that. As cell service becomes better and better and better, which it is already. I mean, there's places we used to fish 3 years ago that we had no service, and now we have service. It'd be fun to see if Dorena Lake, if we have service this year, that would be fantastic. We never have it there. But I don't know. We're going to have to figure out the board checks ongoing, because the digital check-in is handy for all the anglers, and it's good for us. But yeah, the board checks are a real question mark on that. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Usually we'll have that captain's meeting the night before on something like that when we're doing the digital check-in, unless it's an online thing.
It's just tough. There are a lot of people that don't that aren't there the day before. If we start doing a captain's meeting for all those events, I think we'll probably find a number of people that can't show. But I don't know. We'll see.
If it's something like that, I mean, it's kind of hard on us because we're waiting too. But I mean, we need to check their board somehow. Either we meet up with them and we check
Yeah.
their board before they get on the water, or we figure out some way to, I mean, people, could say, well, you can submit a photo. Problem is I can't see a crack.
Yeah.
I can't see anything on that board. So
I've got some ideas about that we can try to do. I'm not too worried about it right now because there's so few events that we're going to be doing digital check-in, but we'll keep it in mind as we move forward. Looks like Brian Truce has got a has got a question as well.
Yeah, and I think you covered it about the captain's meeting before the event on a Friday for the very first big one of the year. I mean, and like I said, you took into consider, you're going to take into consideration and things of that nature. Because I mean,
I think we've talked about that before.
For people
Brian.
that got to work,
you have a challenge getting there on Friday. I know. Yeah.
Right. That's even for a board check-in too. I mean, let something else happen.
Understood. We'll work with you. We'll work with you on that. And we'll record the captain's meeting or something so that we can share it with those people that aren't there. We'll figure something out.
I mean, we could do a, well, we'll talk about it. I got an idea,
Yeah.
Marvin. We'll talk
Okay.
about it.
I've got a few ideas too. We can get into that.
I've got an idea. We'll talk about offline.
Yeah. Okay. Talked about that. Okay. So when we talk about push notifications on TourneyX, that's another thing is we're going to be using push notifications on TourneyX a lot more this year. Well, a lot. We've never really used them much. But, that's one thing I noticed down at the WCC is James Snyder uses it pretty religiously down there. And we're going to start using it a lot because TourneyX has that feature in it. And it's really handy. So what I need everybody here to do, and we'll push this outside of this Zoom meeting too, is I need you to go into your phone settings and make sure you have push notifications allowed for TourneyX. If you're on an iPhone, it's in settings, and then you go down to TourneyX and you turn notifications on. One of the Android people is going to have to give me some more specific directions about that. I understand it's a little more complicated there, but we won't get into that right now. But please do that because we're going to start sending out notifications like, well, especially for safety. Like if a giant storm starts blowing through or something and we're calling an event, the push notification is one great way that I can reach all of you immediately and say, hey, there's a big storm coming through, get off the water. But it's also great for me to let you know as things are happening. So, like that time of day when we turn off the leaderboard where you can't see the leaderboard, I'll send a push notification, say leaderboard's going off in 5 minutes. So that gives everybody a chance if they want to go, let me look and see where everybody's at on the leaderboard before it goes off. And then we'll give you a reminder. We'll give you a reminder when lines in, we'll give you a reminder for lines out, all those kinds of things we can do with push notifications. It's pretty handy. The other thing I need you to do in TourneyX, a lot of you have already done this, but there are a fair number that haven't, is if you go into your profile, TourneyX added, I don't know, a year or two ago, they added a whole section on emergency contact info. Make sure that is filled out and that it's up to date, because it's a really handy way, if I have service, that I can find all of your contact info and your emergency contact info, who to call if we can't find you. And I actually had to use it at an event last year because we had an angler that didn't show up for weigh-in. He had a lousy day on the water and he left early. But, we got to hammer all of you about this. If you have to leave early for any reason, let us know. Try and contact me or Chris or Jim, whoever the TD is of your event. If you can't reach us for some reason, at the very least, let another angler or two know that you've left. And that's worked too for us, where somebody says, oh yeah, he left and he told me he was leaving. So we're okay. It's critical because we're going to get to weigh in, and if you're not there and we can't reach you and we try calling, we're going to stop the weigh-in immediately. We're going to get on the phone with search and rescue and have people come out and look for you. And we're going to drive over there and start looking for you ourselves. And it's going to disrupt everybody's day. And if you're home playing video games, while we're doing that, we're going to be a little miffed. So please don't do that. If you have to leave an event early for any reason, let us know.
We had Washington last year. I head straight into panic mode. You know,
I remember that one.
Yep, I quit the weigh in. I walked off. I'm an ex dive rescue diver, recovery diver. So my mind goes to places that probably shouldn't be. But I instantly started to go, oh crap, we got to go find him. And we're in a place with no cell service. We're all on Wi-Fi trying to get a hold of people to see where this guy went. And I'm walking off to go find out where he launched from, see if I can find him. And just before I got in the pickup truck to leave, one of my guys goes, I got a hold of Marvin. He called Marvin. You guys got to call your tournament director you're at the tournament for.
Well,
Marvin couldn't have got a hold of somebody.
that's number one. Number one, get a hold of your TD. Number two, get a hold of other anglers that are fishing the event. And then number three, in a real pinch, if you have to reach me or Chris when you're fishing an event for Jim or vice versa, do that. But that's not ideal. It's not the best way to do it.
Yeah, leave a note on a pickup door or something.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, if you know where you're parked,
you know you were there.
Yeah,
that's all we got to worry about.
Okay, I think that's it on Tourney X. On the website, for those who are new here, if you plan on fishing tour events with us, you need a membership. So if you go to the website and go to the join button at the top, that'll get you in to sign up for membership. You can do a $25 membership for one event. If you only plan on fishing one tour event or one online challenge. And then if you want to fish more later, you can pay another $25. And now that covers you for the whole year for as many as you want. You can fish, you can get one membership and you can fish in any division that you want to. You can fish in Washington, Idaho, Oregon with that one membership, as many events as you want to. Of course, there's a entry fee for each of those events that you got to pay, but the membership is a one-time. For opens, you do not have to pay for membership at all. That includes our season openers, the team season openers, the charity Fish-A-Thon, the NRS and the native, and those, of course, those aren't going to require a membership either. Okay, so then once you have a membership, that means you have access to the members only page of the website as well. If any of you don't have the password for the members only page of the website, reach out to me privately and I'll get you that password so that you can get in there. We've got discount codes in there. There's just some good info in there, especially the discount codes. And that's another thing, talking about sponsors again, too. Discount codes are critical. We had one sponsor that was ready to drop us because they said, nobody's using your discount code. And I said, well, I know people have bought your product. And so I had to get a lot of information and say, all these people bought your product, but they didn't use your discount code. And in some cases, it's because they already had just as good a code on their website. You went to their website and they said, your first order, you get 15% off and free shipping. And it's like, okay, well, that's just as good as the code we're giving them. So they didn't have any incentive to use our code. But go to a little extra trouble to use that code if you can, because some companies that are on top of it are really tracking those codes. And at the end of the year, they know how many things we bought from them. That's worked really well with companies like RoboHawk, for example. That he really pays attention to the codes, and we have been doing really great business with them, and he's really grateful for it. And they are going to be back this year. Okay, so then members only we talked about. Gear. Okay, so kayak cushions. If you want a kayak cushion, you better get your order in, because those are going to be ordered, and I'm not going to chase people down for it. Get your order in, and if you don't get your order in, that's probably it for this year. You're not going to get a kayak cushion, not with the Kfnw logo on it. I am working with him also potentially to be a sponsor, so we might have a few kayak cushions to give away. Those ones probably will not be Kfnw. Or he's got that new thing. Maybe I'll try and get those, the little cush bar. It's like a lumbar cushion, which would be great if you already have a Kfnw kayak cushion to get the lumbar cushion in addition, so you can use them both. But yeah, get those in. I've had a few people ask about this over the years, but just recently, I think it was Chris from Chris with a K from IKBF, who's asking about jerseys. Let me ask, just in this group right here, by a show of hands, how many are interested in a custom jersey for your division? Who would buy a jersey and who would wear it? I don't have a lot of video. If you can hit the, if you don't have your video on, you can hit the raise your hand on Zoom as well, or *6 if you're on your phone. There's a few. There's enough. There's enough that will do it. You know, we asked a year or two ago, and there really wasn't a whole lot of interest, so we didn't really pursue it. But yeah, I can do that. I can put it together with the logos, and we should be able to get it with your name on the back and everything. Cool. Okay. I'll work on that. We will have some new stuff as far as hats and shirts and stuff. Well, probably not shirts. Shirts, we've still got Washington shirts and we've still got Oregon shirts. I've got a bunch of them left that people did not buy yet. So I won't be ordering any more shirts anytime real soon. Here comes Victor joining us. So if you want a shirt, get on the website and order one. We've got these hats, or actually these hats, I think, are the ones we have. These and the trucker caps as well. There's a few orders in. Some of you might have already placed an order and haven't gotten them yet. That's my fault. Sorry, I've just been upside down slammed with work right now, so I haven't had a chance to fulfill all those orders. But I'll get those going. And I'm probably going to do a technical hat this year. I'd like to do sort of a technical cap with the logo on it as well. So I'll probably work on that. So we'll get some stuff going on that. We'll have some new stickers and things going too, I think. All right, let's get into the rules. Oh, I totally stole one of your things you were supposed to talk about, Chris. Sorry about that. Let's get into the rules reminders. So these are not new rules. These are rules we already have, but we just want to remind everybody, and especially for the new people, let them know. We've got 3 people still with their hand raised. I want to make sure those aren't questions and they were just voting on jerseys. Turn your hand down if you don't have a question. There they go. Or if you do have a question, belt it out. But yeah, they're all gone now. Okay. Rules reminders. Chris, talk to us about motors.
All right, so real quick, for time's sake, rules reminder: motors are only allowed in opens and online challenges unless you have a documented disability. If you believe you have a documentable disability, reach out to Marvin directly. He's the only person that needs to know your business. He will handle it between you two and make it so. There is a section on the website that lists all currently eligible motor anglers. Yeah,
that's on the members only page. Just so you know, so everybody knows who has that exception, has permission to do it. Just a little side note to motors there too is we did a poll recently, and about 50 people have answered that poll, only about 50, and we had over 200 members last year. We had over 100 that fished, well over 100 that fished tour events. And so a lot of you have not answered that poll. And one of the questions in that poll is whether you think we should allow motors next year, 2023. And if we are going to allow motors in 2023, then that obviously is going to change this rule quite a bit. But we need to get some votes on that so that we know where we're at. And if we don't have enough votes at that, I'm probably going to do a vote at Lake Wallula, probably at the captain's meeting at Lake Wallula or something. We'll get a vote there on it, because we need to. There are enough people that have shown interest. The last time we took a vote on it, it was 2-1 against motors. Twice as many people didn't want them as wanted them. And those numbers have definitely shifted. There are more motors on the market now that are better prices. And there are a lot of kayaks now that come with them. The Old Towns, you know, with their Johnson Outdoors, Minn Kota connection. They're just happening more and more. And to give you a little insider info, I know some of the companies that I have talked to and companies that I represent, it's something that the manufacturers are looking at more and more. I think in the next at least in the next, or most in the next 2 years, you're going to see kayaks coming out that are really specifically geared for motors. The only one kind of that feels like that now is the Bonafide because they didn't have a pedal drive until this year. And so a lot of the Bonafide people were using motors. So I don't know. It's something I'm indifferent on it. There are things I like about it and things I hate about it. I don't care, which we do, but I want to make all of you happy. And we're not going to make a decision to go motors if it's like 55 to 45. We're probably not going to make the change yet. It's going to have to be a decisive number. It's going to have to be like, 66% for and 33% against, or something in that area, for us to really consider making a big change like that. Because whatever we do, we're going to lose some people. Whether we already lose people because we don't allow motors. We lose people if we do allow motors. We're going to lose some people, and we lose people because we allow motors for people with disabilities. That happens too, where people are like, we don't want it all or nothing. But I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with all or nothing. I'm not okay saying, well, all you guys who have motors because you have disabilities, you can't fish with this anymore. Too bad. We're taking them away. I'm not cool with that. So we'll try and make it where most of us are happy, and I can't make everybody happy. This is something Jim and Chris and I say all the time. We can't make everybody happy. All we can do is try and play the numbers and do what most of you want. Okay, let's see. Next is a reminder about fish size.
Fish
Jim.
sizes. All our live events, same as last year, of course, 8-inch minimum on the live events. Season longs and the no limits all have a 12-inch minimum on the fish. So that's pretty standard.
And that native, maybe 14. We'll see.
14 is good for that lake.
Good for that lake. That's what you said before when we talked about it. You felt like it was okay. You could, I don't want a number that people are only going to catch 1 or 2 fish.
No,
of that
they're going to
size.
catch more than 1 or 2 fish.
Especially in a no limit. That would be sort of self-defeating. All right, Chris, how about tailfin?
I think you had one other one. You cannot hold a fish. So no fishing if you're holding a
Oh,
fish.
mine.
All fish need to be released.
right.
As far as tailfin or a caudal fin, remember.
Before you jump to that, the fish release thing is especially important when we talk about that native event. Of course, that's going to have its own set of rules, but it has the same rule in it. It's critical, especially in that big bass power hour. We don't want people holding fish for 5 minutes to get it in the next hour or something. But that's another place Dwayne has really helped us. He's customizing the software, so it's not going to show you the individual sizes of all the fish that people have caught. So sorry, we're wasting time on that. Go ahead, Chris.
Yep. So for the caudal fin, I'm trying my awesome fish because my kids don't have any stuffed fish. So if it's sticking up over the side, that doesn't count. I don't know how well view that is. So the foot would not count. It needs to be down on the board. And some of the metal catch boards, the aluminum ones where they have the outer edging, the black edge, that is not considered part of the board. It needs to be in the scoreable section. So if you have one of those big old fat girls, kind of need to shape her a little bit and get her down there so we can actually judge it. Otherwise, we had to do it on a few last year where they got cut off, where big fish clearly passed a number, but it wasn't on the scoreable section. So make sure you take the time to get a good picture.
I remember
a lot of fish for that.
I remember us talking about that last year, where there was there's the side of the board that's kind of like this. Let me see if I can get it where you guys can see. So the edge of the board is like that. And there was a tail that went up that. It just kind of curved up the edge like that. And technically, there's a rule about the tail being lifted. If the tail is lifted, then you can't count it. And it's the same thing there. Even though it's touching that side fence, if it's curling up that side, you're not going to get that measurement. We're going to give it the biggest number that we can tell for sure that the fish goes to,
rule about pinching it down? We can pinch it down, just not hold it down.
There's no rule about pinching that, some people have that natural tail, pinch tail, all that stuff. You can do whatever you want. You can angle the tail, you can play with it as long as you get your hand off it before the photo.
It's just roll the top or the bottom of the tail. Roll the bottom up or roll the top down. It'll be in the scoreable section. You won't have any problems whatsoever. That's all you got to do.
That's
You don't
it.
have to, just roll the tail down, and it's long as it's in the black lines, you're perfect.
And I think one of the ones I had to deduct on that last year it was unfortunate because it was one of those fish that one of the lobes of the tail was longer than the other, but that tail, the longer lobe was kind of going up the side. So I didn't count that lobe. I had to look at the other lobe and say, okay, well, this fish is, 16 instead of 16 and a quarter, 16 and a half.
Okay.
Is that it on?
Did we get that, Chris?
I think so. So
All
that's
right. Closed mouth, guys. That's a big one for a lot of us. Remember, there's no cannot have a cracked mouth at all. So closed mouth is required for uniformity of the measurement. If a judge and/or a tournament director considers the mouth to be cracked or open, even if it is structurally unable to close, it's a 1/2 inch deduction. So if he kissed a prop somewhere and his jaw's jacked and his mouth won't close, just know you're going to lose a 1/2 inch automatically. The penalty it'll be assessed. Repeated infractions may result in a fish denial or angler disqualification. So if his face is jacked, you're going to lose a 1/2 inch, but we're not going to stop mouth open. But if the mouth is repeatedly cracked, we'll probably PM you and just say, hey, you got a lot of fish with a cracked mouth. We need to make sure that it's closed all the way. And there are ways for us to tell. And the best way for a person to make sure that fish's mouth is shut, especially on a smallmouth, is you've got to push his head all the way to the board. And I take my pinky finger and lay it on top of the gill plate. You can't touch under, but if you just push his gill plate down, his mouth will close. It'll stay shut. And you want it, just push it up there and do it just like that. I mean, the people that pay special attention to it, we never get any cracked mouths at all from them. The guys that are just in a hurry, or maybe you got to rush or you're whatever, and you get up there, snap that picture, and you turn fish loose, and you're like, crud. You still turn it in because you're only losing a 1/2 inch, but still, those are, that's the number one deduction deal we get going on in our stuff is cracked mouths, and we definitely will get you. So we're looking very close on that.
Yeah, one thing to add to that too is make sure your photos, that's on that graphic that I posted the other day, make sure your photo is right over the fish and shooting straight down. If you come back and angle back and take the shot like this, where we can't tell if the mouth is open or closed, you're going to get the deduction anyway.
Or a DQ'd fish,
You might get a denied fish.
Denied
if
fish,
it's,
that's what I
if it's
meant.
bad enough, we might deny the fish. But if we can tell the fish is okay, but we can't tell the mouth is open, we're going to give you the open mouth. So that's something we're really going to crack down on more this year, is that angle. We warn you about it every year, and we've warned you enough. We're going to start deducting when we see that, or denying, like Jim said.
Right.
Let's see, for online challenges, you gotta fish public water, and it can't be like, oh, well, I fish there all the time, so it's public. That doesn't mean it's public. I had to DQ 3 people last year because they were fishing in water that was not public. It wasn't intentional. At least 2 out of the 3 wasn't intentional. One of them might have been, but there's Jim uses an app, and I use the same one, Onyx Hunt, which is really nice. You can zoom in to like a Google map, and you can see all the areas, whether they're private or public, and you can find out who owns the private land, or if it's, BLM land or whatever it is, public land. That's a really handy app to use if you're trying to find out if it is public or private. But if it's private, if it's privately owned, but it is open to the public, anybody in the public can go there, that's fine. Then you can fish there. You might have to prove it. You might have to give me proof that anybody can fish there anytime, that it's open. but, and even if it's a pay, like if it's somewhere you got to pay for a private launch, like there's a launch like that down here on the Umpqua River that you can pay, and it's not cheap. It's like $20 or something, I think, to launch there. But anybody can go there and anybody can pay $20 and launch there. So that's fine. No problem. But yeah, we will check that and we will disqualify you from the tournament completely if you submit one fish that was caught in non-public. Chris, what should we do if somebody is fishing too close to us?
So the bottom line is communicate, guys. So if you feel somebody is encroaching on you or otherwise you want to move in towards somebody, just communicate. Somebody will say, yeah, it's fine, or no, it's not. It happens all the time. And this includes following people. Don't just assume you can chase people. Make sure that you're like, hey, is it cool, Marvin? Do you mind if I tag along with you? Just ask. They'll tell you yes or no. Don't make it awkward, but make sure you communicate with guys. Don't get too close. And if you are, make sure you're communicating just to make sure everything's on the up and up and there's no issues later.
And not just us, but other boats on the water, talk to
Correct.
them.
And we all know glitter boats don't talk to us until they're already on top of us, but we have to be nice. So we'll just let it be.
Nice. Tyler Hicks nearly got run over by a jet ski the other day. So you could try and yell at them as they zip by you, but you probably won't succeed. Okay, so I had mentioned already, you got to have a flag and you got to have a light. That was the rule we instituted last year. And I talked to you about, how important that is. But that's a reminder on that. All right, let's jump to some of the new rules. I don't know if we did post the new rules recently. I don't know if any of you have had a chance to really look through them yet, but there are a few new rules. And one of the ones that we've alluded to already is this new pre-fishing rule. So there was a lot of confusion about that. We fielded a lot of questions and a lot of stuff online where it was clear that people did not understand the rule. They thought the rule was more strict than it was. For almost every event that we do, the rule is exactly the same as it has been, as it was last year, except one change. Instead of fishing until 4 p.m. on the day before the event, you can only fish until 11 a.m. on the day before the event. And for the vast majority of our events, that's the only change, is the 4 p.m. cutoff the day before is now 11 a.m. And we just feel like that gives the fish a lot more time to recover and they're more likely to bite on the next day. We've instituted this rule and the off limits rule that I'm going to talk about next because we've had a problem with it. We've had people that have hammered lakes before we fished there, and it really threw off the bite on Saturday, especially on a smaller lake or just a lake that's a little more sensitive to it. There's some that are and some that aren't. So we felt like this was something we had to do. It hasn't been a problem in every division yet, but it would have been. And so we're kind of trying to nip this in the bud before it becomes a bigger problem than it already has been. So then for those select events, like the Lake Wallula event, or the Willamette River in Oregon, or the Little Payette in Idaho, or probably Alder, you said you're thinking about maybe doing it in Washington, we're going to also institute this off limits period. So this off limits period is basically 4 days before the event. The Sunday at midnight. You can't fish or go out on that water. Had a lot of people say, well, can I go out and graph? Nope, you can't. You can't do anything. You can't fish on the bank. You can't go out and pleasure boat in the kayak. And you can't go out there and fish from Sunday until that Friday before the event. And then it's the same as our other events. You can head out at sunrise and you can fish until 11 a.m. So we're giving you, a handful of hours that you can go out and check the water temp, see if the fish are where you think they are, see what the water clarity is, do some graphing, check some of the areas that you're thinking about fishing. That should be enough time for you to do the basics of what you need to practice and pre-fish.
Marvin, we're
yeah.
getting a lot of questions. I know we discussed this. People are asking, is that lines out or is that boat out of the water? And we discussed this. Do you remember what that is?
Boat out of the water.
Boat out of the water.
Yep.
At 11.
Yep.
So you must be
Got to
off.
be off the water. It's the same thing as that's the same as it always has been. You couldn't stay out on the water after 4 p.m. before and continue to graph or continue to look around. You can't do it. You got to get off the water at 11 a.m.
I've seen that question about 3 times on the screen. So there you go, guys. Everybody's been asking it. So
yep. Let's see. What have I left out about that? I think that's it on that. Before I jump off, because I know that one has been a real point of contention, any questions on that, any more questions on that specific rule? Awesome. I guess should have done a Zoom meeting back on. We seriously considered it. I was just so busy with work. I was like, I can't do a Zoom meeting on this right now.
So Marvin, I have a quick question. Is this
Sure.
going to possibly extend to all tournaments or just certain tournaments?
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, if people
by state right now.
if people really obnoxiously hammer lakes, continue to do that, and as our numbers grow, we might have to institute it where we are doing it more often. There's some bodies of water I can't see us ever doing it, but probably, but never say never. But I don't know. It depends on you guys. It depends on how, I mean, when I pre-fish personally, this is me personally, when I go out and pre-fish, I don't catch a lot of fish. I spend more of my time trying to just eliminate water and say, that doesn't look good. Or I'm graphing, I don't see anything on the graph. I'm checking temperature, I'm checking clarity. I will throw stuff out and I will catch 1 or 2 fish. But that's usually about it after that, if I can establish a pattern, 2 fish, maybe 3 fish, that's it. I'm going to get off the water, or I'm going to go to a different area and do more graphing and looking around. That's me personally. There are a lot of pros out there who throw stuff with no hooks in it too. They'll take the treble hooks off their spy bait or crankbait, and they'll just throw it out there and fish. And you can still feel the strike, boom, but you're not going to stick a hook in it. And as Jim likes to say, sore mouth them. So yeah, you're not going to sore mouth the fish by taking the hooks off. So I would encourage all of you to do that more. And that's one thing Chris and Jim and I have all talked about, is we really probably should spend more time trying to educate everybody about the right way to pre-fish. So we'll try and do that. We'll try and share more videos about pre-fishing and best practices, and hopefully that'll help.
It's not meant to harm the anglers, these pre-fishing rules. It's meant to make or to enable you guys as anglers to have a better experience during the one day we want you to have a good experience. And that is the event. That's not the pre-fish. That's the event. We want you to catch fish. We want you to have a good time. We want things to be optimal for you during the event. And if we go and throw hooks and everything all the time, it 100% ruins that event, especially on small bodies of water. Big bodies of water, it's, you're not going to storm out everything, but on a smaller body of water, it absolutely hurts them. So, and
especially 100 anglers. The Columbia isn't particularly prone to us pre-fishing and hammering it, but with the 100 plus anglers, we could do some damage.
If we were in bass boats, maybe it wouldn't be such a big deal, but
we're going to be spreading out.
We're limited to what we can do. With 100 people, we can and will we'll change the outcome of an event by going and storm out and everything. So think about it when you're fishing, guys. Think about the day you want to have the next day and fish to that day that you want to have. And then the next day, go out there and smoke them.
That's a great, great point, that as kayak anglers, we can't cover the same area, especially a place that has limited launches. Yeah, we're not hammering the whole lake. We're hammering those little areas that are within a mile of the launch, you know, when we're pre-fishing, a mile or two of the launch is where most of the traffic is from us. I don't think I've ever gone 10, I've gone 10, 11 miles in a tournament, but I don't know that I've done that pre-fishing. That's a bit much. I'd be a little tired the next day.
We got it. Down to additional.
Okay, so we've added an additional qualifier for the classic we're going to be adding this year. We're going to add third place. If your tour event AOI third place, we're going to allow that person into the classic this year. That's a new qualifier level. In the past, it was the tour AOI and the tour AOI runner-up. And then we also did the online AOI and the online AOI runner-up. So we're adding one this year of that tour AOI third place. We considered taking away, taking away the online runner-up and just moving that over. But we thought about that and decided, no, we'll keep that. We'll keep the online, because the classic is, honestly, in our minds, it is a little bit more about the people who fish tour events rather than people who just fish online. But at the same time, those top online people that, again, that work weekends or something and can't fish tour events very often, I still like to give a few of those a shot. 2 or 3 of those people to have a shot to get in. But we looked at who the third place tour AOI was in all 3 divisions. And all 3 of you, I'm not sure if you're all here, but are, great anglers, really good, solid anglers. And I think I was sorry that all 3 of the tour AOI third place folks didn't make it in last year. And I was like, oh, that's a shame that they didn't make it in. And so we're going to rectify that and get those in this year. I think that's it of the on the schedule. So now we're going to jump over to the Q&A portion of the program. Who's got a question? Somebody must. Anna. You don't look like an Anna.
No, it's my wife's Zoom. So I was looking on the rules and it says for fun fishing during a tournament.
Oh, I left that out. That was on my list. Did I skip that? Thank you.
You did.
Thank you. That's a new rule. I skipped over it. Yes, that is a new rule. And it's a new rule because we had sort of a public disqualification last year over that down here in Oregon. Somebody showed up to fish, didn't have their flag, and went ahead and fished anyway. And I happened to go fishing at that same spot that same day, and came up on him and I said, hey, how's it going? I said, where's your, good morning. I said, hey, good morning. Where's your flag at? And he did one of these, kind of looked around the boat like it was like it had fallen down or it was just hiding on the boat somewhere. And I'm like, you don't have a flag. I said, that's going to be a disqualification.
I thought it was a PFD, Marvin, that you caught him without.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm saying flag because we were just talking about flag, but you're right. It was PFD. He did not have his
flag.
PFD
Wouldn't be a big deal, but
I wouldn't have. I would have given him a warning on the flag. I would have said, yeah, we're not going to count you today, because that would have been a first offense on the flag. And you're absolutely right. I'm just have flag on the mind because I was just talking about it. It was PFD, which we take damn seriously. PFD, like you don't go out in the water without a PFD. So he didn't have his PFD, and I said, sorry, I'm going to have to qualify. And then he flamed me on social media, which is also a rules violation, flaming TD on social media. So he got disqualified for that, and he got banned from the club for that. But then he left. So it's unfortunate. He was a great angler, But the thing is, so what we've done is we've instituted a new rule in that case, because what he said after the fact was, well, I was just fun fishing. I wasn't going to submit those to the tournament. But I don't buy that, honestly. So in the future, if you're going out fun fishing and you're going to break one of the rules that we have, especially things like not wearing a PFD, which personally you should never, ever do anyway. I don't want anybody out here ever going out and fishing without a PFD on their kayak, whether you're competing or not. But if you're, let's say you're going out and fishing with bait, which is totally against the rules. You're not allowed to use bait in any of our online challenges or our tour events. You can use artificial bait, like gulp and stuff, but you can't use live minnows or live worms, or even dead worms for that matter. Well, if you want to go out and do that, let's say you're going out fishing with your family somewhere and you want to chuck minnows, well, that's great. But then you need to let us know that you're doing that in case we see you or in case somebody else sees you. And you can let us know any number of ways. You can send us a message on Facebook. You can send us a text message on your phone. You can pick up the phone and call us and say, hey, you can email us. Any of these are fine. And we don't even have to get back to you. As long as there's a record that you sent that message. If I'm not around and I don't see your message come in, you're going that morning to fish and you send me a text message and I don't see it, that's fine. I still have a record that you notified us that you're doing it. And so then no problem. We're going to know. And then the reason that's so critical is because then we know not to count any fish that you catch on that day. Because we can't allow people to break the rules and still submit to the online challenges. It's less of an issue with our tour events, of course, because we're there too. We all see you. But for the online challenges, it's a little more tricky.
If I would assume too that if you guys are gonna, I don't think any of our guys are gonna. At least I'm gonna speak for Washington. None of my guys are gonna intentionally go out and break a rule. I know all of them pretty well. I don't think any of them would intentionally do that. But if you're gonna do that, and it is during an online, and you're signed up for it, and you've been submitting fish, and you say that, hey, I'm fun fishing today, and then you catch that big fish, just know I'm your tournament director. I'm not going to accept that fish because you told me you were going to fun fish that day. So just keep that in mind. Make sure what you're doing. And
if you take a chance on doing it, and not telling us, one of us might be happen to be fishing that same spot the same day, like happened to me.
Yeah, and if I see you with no PFD, all my guys know it's a DQ. There's no questions asked.
Yeah,
it's going to be.
That's one we have no tolerance on. Zero tolerance policy with PFD. You have to have a PFD at all times.
I have
Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great.
This is Rich. Am I coming through?
We can hear you great, Rich.
Awesome. I have a question, Marvin. You went through some multiple day with the online challenges where you fish 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or 12. And we have a whole season open going on with a 50-50. How do I do that? How do I do it? What do I need to do to fish multiple days?
Great. So each tournament has a separate identifier code.
Right.
So on your identifier, you'll write the identifier for each of those tournaments you're fishing. And if you're fishing the season long, well, you can fish any day from March 1 until September 30.
Right.
Any day in there and submit those fish. If you're fishing a pick your day online challenge, then we're going to give you a choice of 5 days to choose from. And you can only fish that 1 day. You have to tell us ahead of time which day you're picking.
Gotcha.
You choose it when you sign up. And then if you want to change it, if you sign up, but then your schedule changes and you need to change your day, just let us know and we'll move the date for you.
Okay. But like the season long, I can go out and practice in various waters. It doesn't have to be the same, and just
anywhere that is public waters, that is in your division. So if you're signed up for Oregon
Right.
you got to fish in Oregon. Now, the one kind of exception to that it took a while for people to catch on to, and they weren't exploiting this, is there are border waters. So the Columbia borders Washington and Oregon. The
Yep.
Snake borders Idaho and Washington. If you're fishing in those areas where the two states are right on the opposite sides of where you're fishing, you can submit in both states. Same fish.
Oh,
Just
sweet.
sign up for both tournaments, put both codes on there, upload the fish to both events. And some people have exploited that and won a lot of money exploiting
Don
it.
Hogue. used to
But,
do
but, but you need to register for both, right?
You have to register for both. You can't do it after the fact.
Yeah. That, well, I like that better, but no.
But yeah, I hope that answers your question. And then the
Totally.
monthlies, if it's not a pick your day, then the monthly is a month long.
Okay, so you just pay one fee and fish as many days.
Many
and
days that
you're-
month as you want to, you can
Okay.
fish.
Okay.
And they'll count for that month. The only exception to that is something like, well, Afternoon Delight is a pick your day this time, but we have done, I don't think we've ever done Afternoon Delight for a full month. I think it's always been a pick your day. But I don't think there's any other time limitations on the month longs, are there? No, I don't think so. Yeah, we ask that you not fish more than an hour before sunrise and more than an hour after sunset. That's the only other time limitation in there. So
And
if you love fishing at night, sorry, we just don't want people doing it.
Do pre-fishing rules still apply or just go wing it?
No, there's no pre-fishing rules. There's no special pre-fishing rules for any online challenge.
I can go to the same place 3 days in a row, no. big
That's
deal.
right.
Okay,
But you cannot
And,
submit the same fish.
well, yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, and that happens. We do have people who will catch the same fish 2 different days.
Wow,
I've even had people do it on the Columbia, which is shocking, that they're going to catch the same fish a few days apart on the Columbia. Boy, Brad, he's having a tough time
You
getting
could
in.
accidentally catch the same fish 2 different months and submit those fish. But if you
That's fine.
submit it once in the season long, you cannot submit that same fish in the season long. You may not be able to tell, but we have people that are now we're checking the top 3 anglers or whatever our paid positions are. We have people that are looking to make sure there are no duplicate fish. So it will be seen. It'll be found.
yeah, that's cool. I'm a trout fisherman, so I would send another picture of the same fish and not even know it.
Right.
I've done it.
But that's
I've
cool.
done it. I had one that I caught
No problem.
45 minutes apart.
Yeah,
Same fish, at the same bait. And
Marvin.
I didn't catch it, but it got caught when I submitted it. And it's happened to a bunch of us here. It's an easy mistake to make. We don't consider that to be malicious. If you're doing it regularly, or if you do it a lot of times in 1 month, then we're going to get suspicious, but it can happen.
yeah, it'd just be.
You're gonna have to watch my photos real closely this year because I've got a pet bass that lives in my backyard.
Who is that?
Nice.
That's Michael McCord.
Oh, that's Mike. Okay, Matt, I think you're up there with your hand up.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could clarify the tournament after Wallula that is open. When we might find out more details about that. And
They've been a little bit, they haven't given me a lot of info on a regular basis, but I just recently heard from them that this is confirmed and everything. And I'm waiting to hear back from them again. I think we'll be able to announce it soon. Probably, if I had to guess, and this is totally a guess, I would say we'll probably know something in a week or 2. I can't imagine they're going to wait much longer than that because, they got to get people registered and they've got stuff they got to get together to make that happen.
all righty, I was just curious.
It's going to be exciting though. It's going to be a cool
Yeah,
event.
I mean, could you hint on if it's Oregon side or Washington side, or is it on that split on the Columbia?
You've seen the meme?
Yeah,
Why not both?
I figured. That's
Just can't say anything yet. Marvin,
Fair
David Melendez has a question. He's asking if the Blue Fox tags, and I've seen it a couple times here, are going to be available this year again. Is that gentleman going to work with us? Do you know?
Yeah, a few people have asked me about identifiers and, a lot of people have asked me about Tourney X and about the thing that I would ask you all to take into account is we're still working very hard on sponsorship right now. And our top sponsors go on the identifier, and they go on all the graphics for the tournament detail pages, and they go on the graphics in Tourney X. So if I build all that out, I'm going to have to go back and change it all again. And we had that happen a couple of years ago with the identifiers, where they got changed like 2 or 3 times. So I'm not going to do that. So the identifiers are not going to be released until we lock down those top sponsors. Not all the little sponsors, but the ones that their logo has to go on the identifier. I wish it was done already. It should be done already. It should have been done already, but I'm waiting to hear back on things from people. So I'm in a waiting game. So the identifiers might not be until close to the end. Blue Fox, yes, I will get him the artwork as soon as the identifier is done, and he'll create his tin tags, and you'll be able to purchase them from him and use them. For those of you who haven't heard of this, it's, our identifier is a file that I upload, and you can print it out and put it in a tourney tag plastic sleeve or some other sort of plastic sleeve. But then there's this guy who makes these out of tin. He prints them on a substrate that he attaches to tin, and it's got a
They're
little holder.
$11.
Yeah, they're $11, but they only last you a year. But still, I mean, you don't have to have a tourney tag. You don't have to print every time.
They were awesome.
And you just write on it with Sharpie. And once the Sharpie dries, it's waterproof. It doesn't come off. And then when you're ready to do another one, you just take some rubbing alcohol and on a cotton swab or something, and it comes right off.
Best invention ever.
You can write a new one. It's pretty slick. And the other big advantage to it, the problem with the tourney tags sometimes, or with a lot of the plastic sleeves, is if you get in the glare just the wrong way and that sun hits it. There's a few anglers here, I think, who've had fish denied because of this. The sun hits that plastic covering just the wrong way, and you can't read the identifier code. And even if you've submitted fish before and after it that I can read the code, if I can't read the code on that one fish, we're gonna deny that fish, unfortunately. So the tin tag is better for that. It's less susceptible to that glare.
And Catch makes a holder that specifically, this guy works with them, that fits perfectly. So just Velcro's on there. You never have to take it off.
It works with any, the Catch thing works with a tourney tag or with the tin tag. Either
this one it like custom fits right in there. And on that note, one thing we did skip in the thing this year, guys, the Catch board's the only board we're going to allow.
I'm sorry, I was not paying attention very well when I was reading.
No more hog trough, no more yak attack one, no more nothing else. It's only the Catch board, whether you've got an aluminum Catch board or those really nice carbon or the yellow ones. So everybody, we should all have them by now. If you don't have one, you need to get one. And if you don't have one, get a hold of Marvin, or if you're in my state, I still have a couple from last year. Chris, I don't know if Chris has.
I do. I have a few, and I owe a few to a couple people.
Have some for the guys. They're $20 a piece. And they are so much easier to read than any of them others and they're tougher.
I'm going to call out Jeremy if he's still here. Jeremy's got the metal catch board, the aluminum catch board. He's had it for years and uses it all the time. And at the Classic last year, he said, "Do you have any more of those carbonate boards, the plastic board?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Bring one for me to the Classic. I want to buy one from you." He said, "I just had to judge a tournament in another state." And he said, "That is the easiest board to judge I have ever seen." And I'm like, "I told you, it's great. I mean, it's fantastic." So so he bought one, even though he has the aluminum expansion one. He bought the plastic. The only one that we don't allow of Catch is their folding board. So like the big musky board and stuff that folds, we don't allow that one. But I can't imagine any of you would have that for bass fishing anyway. You're not going to get a 70-inch bass.
They're dropping like flies, Marvin. We're down to 46.
They're bored. I don't blame them.
Bedtime.
Any other questions?
Do you right before each tournament, do you like where you go and we all come together? Do you tell us where we're going to meet? Because so far I know where we're going at a lake, but I don't know where we meet at that lake.
All that information will be on the detail page.
Okay,
So the only one that's up on the website right now is Lake Wallula. And it
gotcha.
has that information on it, but we'll have a tournament detail page on the website that will link to Tourney X, and Tourney X links back to that page as well. And that's got all those details, where your check-in is, where your weigh-in is, all the times and all the expectations that we have on you.
Yep, sorry, I have to ask because I haven't done it before.
Oh, newbies got
Thank
to,
you.
newbies got to ask. You don't know.
Suggestion for all the new people, please, please, please go through and read all of the rules.
Yeah,
I know it's a long read. I mean, there's a couple of pages, but go through, read it all. 2, 3, 4
after
days later, go through and read it all again.
Yep.
And
After
maybe
you read it, start over and read it again. Totally.
Yeah, and then maybe mid-season go through and read it again because there's a lot there to remember.
man, I printed it and it's going with me. Review it every morning.
Pretty easy
Yeah,
to
yes.
pull up on your phone too. That's what I do.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's real easy to miss a small detail and it can cost you a tournament. And I've seen a lot of people lose tournaments because they weren't following rules.
Yep. I hear you.
Marvin, there's somebody that's saying it. William, he's if we could just get a release to add the sponsors for KFNW, that would be great because I'm sure others have their own sponsors they would like to add. Sounds like he wants to put them on jerseys.
For the jersey. Yeah, that gets more complicated. If
Yeah.
I'm customizing jerseys for each person, that gets complicated and a little more expensive. But what I can do, I'll find out. What I might be able to do is get a template set up at the jersey company. There's a couple jersey companies I know about, and I might be able to get our basic template set up there where you can add your own stuff to it and order. It's either going to be like that. I'll see what the pricing is like to it. If it's cheaper to do a group buy, then you might have to not do that if you can live without it. But if there's a way I can do it working with one of the jersey companies where you can customize it some and add your own sponsor logos, I hear you. That's a valuable thing for those anglers that have, multiple sponsors that they want to add to.
Somebody else asked, they missed the first hour. Can they buy jerseys from KFNW? I know you went over this, but they didn't get a-
Well, yeah, it just came up, didn't it? Yeah, I'm looking into it. We took a vote earlier and it looks like quite a few people are interested. Last time I asked, there weren't that many. So yeah, I'm going to look into it and see if we can give you guys some options for jerseys. Probably the hoodie jerseys. Those are the ones that seem to be the most popular these days.
Yeah, of a nice material. All right.
Well, they're not as nice a material. Unfortunately, the printed jerseys are not as nice a material as some of the shirts that you buy, like that NRS. What's the name? I can't think of the name of it, but their hoodie. Oh man, that is such a great shirt. I love that thing, but that's harder to print on. The printed jerseys are a different material that's easy to print on, so they're not quite as luxurious, but they're fine. They're good. Who else has got a question?
No, it looks like somebody just said had a jersey be preferred. Chase is poking being Chase. All right.
I think that looks like it. I don't see any more hands. Thank you everybody for showing up, for enduring this. Just a little over 2 hours, not much over, so we're pretty much right on time. If you've got more specific questions that you think of later, by all means, reach out to me or to Jim or to Chris. We're always happy to answer your questions. Of course, read the rules and look at the schedule before you reach out, because you probably can find a lot of the answers right there yourself. But if you can't, by all means, reach out to us. Looking forward to a fantastic year. Should have record-setting numbers, and our payouts should be record-setting as well. So looking forward to it.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, guys.
Hey,
Good
thanks
night.
for all
Have a
you
good
three
one.
do. Really appreciate everything you guys do to put this all together.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.